In 2006, a shocking and rare case which made headlines in Singapore. A gunman invaded a HDB house in Serangoon, the northeastern part of Singapore. It took place on the 15th of February. The gunman, Tan Chor Jin, who was widely known as the One-Eyed Dragon due to his loss of sight in his right eye, which was caused by a traffic accident. He a gang leader of an infamous secret society called Ang Soon Tong. He also had a long string of criminal career, including illegal bookmaking, illegal gambling, drugs and arms trafficking. Apart from his illegal career, he actually owned 4 traditional Chinese medicine shops, or TCM in short, in Malaysia. And he is known by his wife and in-laws as a caring husband who will smoke outdoor and not inside the house, to show the family some respect. Despite him having a wife, he also had a mistress who he had 2 children with. He doesn't have any child with his legal wife. But his TCM business faces financial difficulties in 2005, and he needed money to settle his financial issues. He tried to find his former friend Mr. Lim, asking him to pay back his debts but failed. 41 years old, Mr. Lim was also a bookmaker, but he was also the owner of a famous nightclub in Singapore. Both men had a dispute over some gambling debts. It was claimed by Tan that Mr. Lim had owed him $220,000 of gambling debts, and they were friends prior to the dispute. So he planned to take back the money by force instead. On the 14th of February, Tan arrived Singapore and meet up with a fellow gang member who is known as Chui. Chui drove him to Mr. Lim's residential estate. Chui noticed that Tan was carrying a black bag but claims that he doesn't know that it has a pistol in it. It was 3 a.m. when the duo reached the car park of the HDB Block, but did not went up to look for him. He left the car while Chui was waiting inside the car. He returned after 10 minutes and the duo left the neighborhood to watch soccer at their friend's house. They came back at around 6+ in the early morning. Tan went up to look for Lim while Chui waited inside the car. It was around 6:55 a.m. when Mr. Lim's 13-years-old daughter was about to go to school with the family 22-years-old helper. Tan surprised them when she opened up the gate. They were forced back into the house at gunpoint. Tan entered the master bedroom and woke Mr. and Mrs. Lim up rudely. The family were all being taken into the study room of the house. Tan demanded Lim to open up a safe, which Lim complied. A total of 170,000 were looted, including cash and jewelries, including 3 Rolex watches and some foreign currency. But however, he did not fled immediately after the robbery. He ordered Mrs. Lim to use the TV cable and tied her husband's hands. Mr. Lim pleaded Tan not to hurt his family, including the helper. The family were ordered to get into different bedroom of the house except for Mr. Lim. Not long after they left the study room, gunshots were heard by the family. A total of 6 shots were fired, 5 which hit Mr. Lim, including in his cheeks, arms, and thighs. One of the shots a chair in the study room. He left in the same car and the duo went to a nearby canal where Tan disposed his weapons. It was later recovered by the police after Chui, who surrendered himself. After news of the murder were heard. Before Tan's identity was established, he had already left Singapore with the help of a Malaysian friend known as Mr. Ho. It is known that Mr. Ho is the only person who knew about the murdering plan prior. Chui claimed to have 0 knowledge about the murdering, but admitted that he knows about the robbery plan. He was later charged with abetting someone to commit murder, but was given a discharge not amounting to an acquittal. But however, he was later convicted of failing to report someone who was planning a robbery and was sentenced to 6 months prison. But he was released in court after his sentencing as he had already been detained for more than 6 months prior to his conviction. The Malaysia Royal Police were alerted to keep a lookout for Tan. Coincidentally, while the Malaysian police were monitoring a Malaysian gang lord, they noticed Tan with the gang lord and split into 2 teams to monitor both. They updated the Singapore police regularly on Tan's latest whereabouts. Tan was later awakened by a big groups of police officers during a raid. The police raided 3 of the hotel room, including the one which accommodated Tan and his wife. Another coincidence is during the raid. 2 more fugitives who was wanted for separate cases were discovered. Both had committed murders as well. One of them is also wanted by the Singapore police, who was also a secret society member and was involved in a murder case which took place in 2005 at Yishun. But he can only be extradited back in 2009 after he finished his jail term in Malaysia for another unrelated case. After he came back into Singapore to face his consequences, he was given a 2 years and 9 months jail term. But 2 years after serving his sentence, he was killed in a traffic accident at the age of 54. Tan was extradited back on 1 March 2006 to face his fate. His murder charge was later dismissed and was preceded with illegally discharge of firearms with an intention to cause death or injury. He will also still face the gallows after all. During the trial, he dismissed his lawyer, and it was reportedly because the lawyer rejected his request to help him purchase cigarettes. He later tried to look for the late veteran lawyer Subhas Anandan, but Mr. Subhas refused to represent him because of his friendship with the Lim's family. But Mr. Subhas agreed to represent him in the appeal. Tan was also the second accused to represent ownself for a capital case. It was reported that Tan had asked the judge for a stick of cigarettes but did not get a response. He eventually told the judge that a car without petrol can't move, but without a cigarettes he can't think. Tan was later convicted and sentenced to death on the 22nd May 2007. His lost the appeal after that, but however, it is said that he is still grateful to Mr. Subhas for helping him on the appeal. His president clemency were also rejected by the late then-president, Mr. S.R. Nathan. During the visit from his wife, he asked his wife to look for his mistress who is pregnant with their second child during the gruesome case in 2006. The two later became sister-like friends. Tan was hanged on the 9th of January in 2009. He was accompanied by a monk prior. As for Mr. Ho, the man who helped him fled Singapore was later arrested in Malaysia in 2015, after he made an attempt to go Batam Island. He was extradited back to Singapore and was later sentenced to 20 months jail in August 2016. Thanks for watching. Please follow and don't forget to like and share.